of Bala Kand and the Sumiran. So our Kanchan will share screen for us. Please join in as we sing it. वर्णानामर्थसङ्घानां रसानां छन्दसामपि मङ्गलानां च कर्तारौ वन्दे वाणी विनायकौ भवानी शङ्करौ वन्दे श्रद्धा विश्वासरूपिणौ याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धा स्वान्तस्थमीश्वरम् वन्दे बोधमयं नित्यं गुरुं शङ्कररूपिणं यमाश्रितो हि वक्रोऽपि चन्द्रसर्वत्र वन्द्यते सीतारामगुणग्राम पुण्यारण्यविहारिणौ वन्दे विशुद्धविज्ञानौ कवीश्वरकवीश्वरौ उद्भवस्थितिसंहार कारिणीं क्लेशहारिणीं सर्वश्रेयस्करीं सीतां नतोऽहं रामवल्लभाम् यन्मायावशवर्ति विश्वमखिलं ब्रह्मादिदेवासुराः यत्सत्त्वादमृषैव भाति सकलं रज्जौ यथा हीर्भ्रमः यत्पादप्लवमेकमेव हि भवान् बोधिस्थितिर्षावतां वन्देऽहं तमशेषकारणपरं रामाख्यमीशं हरिम् नानापुराणनिगमागमसम्मतं यद् रामायणे निगदितं खचिदन्यतोऽपि स्वान्तसुखाय तुलसीरघुनाथगाथा भाषानिबन्धमतिमञ्जुलमातनोति भाषानिबन्धमतिमञ्जुलमातनोति जो सुमिरत सिद्धि होई गणनायक करिवर वदन करौ अनुग्रह सोई बुद्धिरासि सुभगुण सदन मूक होई वाचाल पंगु चढ़ै गिरिवर गहन जासु कृपा सुदयाल द्रवौ सकल कलिमल दहन नील सरोरुह श्याम तरुण अरुण बारिज नयन करौ सो मम उरधाम सदा क्षीर सागर सयन कुन्द इंदु समदेह कुमारमन करुणायन जाहि दीन परनेह करौ कृपामर्दनमयन बन्धौ गुरपद कञ्ज कृपा सिन्धु नररूप हरि महामोहतम पुञ्ज रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, उमापति महादेव की जय, बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय। Hari Om everybody, and welcome to our very special Satsang. This is our regular Ramayana class, and it so happens that the section on Nari Dharma is falling exactly in the same week as International Women's Day, so it is now a public Satsang today. We are in the section of Aranya Kanda. Aranya Kanda is the Kanda or the chapter where Lord Rama is in the forest, and it symbolizes the forest of samsara in which we live. So far, we have seen how saints save us from delusion through Jayant Katha. We have seen how bhakti saves us from our mind's wanderings through Atri Stuti. He says, may my mind never leave your lotus feet, O Lord. And today, we're going to see how Dharma saves us from samsara. So where are we? We are in the section where Sitaji has gone inside to meet Anasuyaji, Atri Rishi's wife. And there is where she tells our Sitaji Nari Dharma in the beginning of Aranyakanda. So we will chant it and then we will study it a little bit together. So Kanchan will share screen and everyone can chant along. If you're looking for it in your book, I mean, it's on screen, but if you're still looking for it in your book, it is after number 4. Okay. Anasuya के पद गहि सीता, मिली बहोरी सुशील विनीता, ऋषि पत्नी मन सुख अधिकाई, आशीष देहि निकट बैठाई, दिव्य बसन भूषण पहिराई, जेन तनु तन अमल सुहाई, कह ऋषि वधू सरस मृदुबानी, नारी धर्म कछु ब्याज बखानी, मातु पिता start, I want everyone to take a moment and reflect and maybe actually write down what you think is the main duty of a wife. Question 1. And question 2, who or what taught you that? Means who or what told you that that is the main duty of a wife? Take 1 minute and write down your thoughts. Done? Not done? So hard to think, or so many things to say in one sentence? Okay. This section that we just chanted is called Nari Dharma. Nari Dharma literally means Dharma of a woman, but over here specifically it means Dharma of a wife. Okay. Now, some things will be said in this section and it will cause the modern woman to roll her eyes. Maybe more than roll eyes. She will say, this is ridiculous, and why aren't they saying anything about men? But the thing is, few things. 1, in Ramayana, our dharma is given in different ways at different times. Everybody's dharma is given in Ramayana. Sometimes it's given directly, means explicitly. Sometimes it's given through the lives of the characters, through the way the stories are presented. In Balkand, we found duties of a young child, duties of a shishya. Then in Ayodhya Kanda, you see how we all have a duty to think about our decision making as we grow older, how decisions are to be made. That was indicated. And everyone's dharma was different. Like, why was it Sitaji's dharma to go to the forest, but Urmilaji's dharma to stay? Why was it Lakshmanji's dharma to go to the forest, but Bharatji's dharma to stay? Like that, so much thinking is required to get clarity on what the right thing for us to do is. Here in Aranyakanda, we find one of the rare places where specifically the dharma of wives is given. And it is given by such a great woman too. Right? We'll see Mitra Dharma and Sevak Dharma, everything is there. But at this time, we are seeing a wife's dharma. The interesting thing is, when one person's dharma is being given, usually that is the time people find to ask about some other person's dharma. When you're teaching your child what their dharma is, what the dharma of a child is, what their duties are, that is the time they will say, but what about parents' duty? That is not the time to ask parents' duty. That is the time to listen to what a student's duty, child's duty, right? Or if a guru is telling shishya his duties, that is not the time to say, but what are your duties, Guru? So at different times, different duties are studied. So here, we are studying the duty of a wife. A couple other things to think about before we enter this prasanga. One is that dharma is something that comes to us unasked by virtue of our position. So we actually don't have a say on whether we like or dislike this dharma. It just is. Dharma doesn't have likes or dislikes. Okay? The other thing is, who determines dharma? See, right now, what we consider as our dharma is heavily defined by society. For example, the dharma of a wife. If you're working, does your boss have a say in it? Think, right? See, if you have a deadline due, your boss will say, well, if you want your job, then your home life takes second place, isn't it? And many people think that that is normal, perfectly normal, right? Then if a husband tells dharma of a wife, you will say, who is he to tell me? So you know who can and who can't tell dharma, right? But in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Shri Krishna tells very clearly, and in all of our shastras is made clearly also, that we are supposed to find out what is our dharma from Shastra. Shastra is the only place where we have, which the only thing that has the authority to tell us our Dharma. Now, the other thing is that this Nari Dharma that Anasuyaji is going to tell Sitaji, it's not for everybody to follow. Right? What is the purpose of following Nari Dharma? In short, the purpose is moksha, paramagati. Now, if someone is seeking success in the corporate field as their main goal, then this Dharma won't make sense to them and it won't fit also. If someone is seeking equality as their goal, again, this won't make sense. If someone is seeking to make a name for themselves, then this is not their goal, so then it's not for them to follow. So you have to ask yourself, what is your goal? If your goal is moksha, means independent happiness and freedom, then following this is going to take me there if I am a wise. Okay? And if moksha is really my goal, then no price is too big to pay. Means I am ready to do anything for moksha. Okay? That is how great the goal is, that goal of moksha. Second thing is, times change. And our shastras are very real. So our rishis tell that our shastras have to be re-explained in consideration of the time, place, and circumstance in which we are. Right? We live in different times now. That is just the reality. So as we go through this section, some of you might feel it is unrealistic, it is unapplicable, it is impractical, right? But that being said, there is always something to be learned about the bhava or the sentiment behind the dharma. Right? Even if you think that it doesn't apply, that may be connected to societal influences, right? That's okay. But see how you can apply the sentiment in your given circumstance. Finally, if it doesn't resonate with you, no worries. There are countless sadhanas given in Sanatana Dharma. You take up another one, right? But just don't get upset with me when we go through this prasanga, because I am not composing it. I am just reflecting on it over here with all of you. Okay? Okay. Now, Anasuya ke padagahi Sita. Sitaji goes in and does pranams. She holds on to Anasuyaji's feet. Anasuya literally means one who does not find fault in another person. Right? We are opposite. The first thing we see is fault. Anasuya is one who doesn't see fault in another person. Right? She was Mili Bahori Susila Benita. She met this Sitaji who was of great character and extremely humble and modest. Right? Now this Anasuyaji, who is going to be telling Nari Dharma, she's a Pativrata Nari herself. She was totally devoted to her husband. In fact, she was so strong, she had such strength and power that Brahmaji, Lord Vishnu, and Mahesha had together taken avatara in her womb one time. That's Ishvara. Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh together is Ishvara. Right? Ishvara took avatar through her womb once. And one time, because of the strength of her tapas, she brought Gangaji to Chitrakut as Mandakini. There was a drought there and her husband wanted water. And with the power of her tapas, even Gangaji came there to give her that water. So she's a very powerful woman, and she's the one who is telling this Nari. Now, Sitaji goes and does pranams to her. Rishi Patini Manas Sukha Adikai. And she was so pleased at heart with Sitaji. Asishadei Nikata Baita. She gave her blessings and she made her sit near her. Divya Basana Bhushana Pahirai. Then she gave her divine clothes and ornaments. Right? What was special about these divine clothes and ornaments? Je Nita Nutana Amala Suhai. They were always new, always fresh, always clean and pure, and they were beautiful. So these were not, see, she's in the forest. She's not going to be wearing silk and gems and everything, right? So she would have been given what was appropriate to the time and place that she was living, to her role at that time. But what was divya about it is that it was always new, always fresh, always clean. No need to wash, iron, do any kind of cleaning like that. Right? You'd be like, what? Does that exist? I want that, you know? Who wants to sit and do laundry and iron clothes? And Anasuyaji gave her that. You know, you can actually imagine some winter jackets are like that. You wear them, wear them, wear them, and they never get dirty. You're like, get dirty, no, so I can get a new one. Never gets dirty, it never gets wrinkled, never gets anything. You can imagine. But anyways, this is what she got. Anasuyaji was a great yogini, so she may have very well foreseen that Sitaji is going to go to Lanka and be there for a year, and she's not going to take anything from Lanka, from Ravana. So she gave her these clothes that sustained her for the year that she was there also. She didn't need to ask anyone for anything. Okay? Now, Kaha Rishi Badu, Sarasa Mridubani, Nari Dharma Kachu Byaja Baka. She said now, this Rishi's wife, Anasuyaji, she spoke sweet words filled with rasa, filled with nectar. And she said, then she started to describe Nari Dharma, a wife's dharma, using Sitaji as an instrument. You know how in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna uses Arjuna as an instrument to tell us Bhagavad Gita? Here, Sitaji doesn't actually need it at all. She will tell at the end. But she uses Sitaji as an instrument to tell us Nari Dharma. Now, what is this? Matu Pita Bhrata Hitakari. Our mother, our father, our brother, our well-wishers, they are our well-wishers. That means they give great joy. You get great joy, no? From your mother, from your father, from your brother. Like that from your siblings. Then she says, Mita Prada, Sava. But all of them can give only finite joy. Measurable joy they can give. Right? Sunu Rajakumari. Oh, princess, you listen to this. Right? They can give only measured joy. Your mother, your father, your siblings. Amita Dani, Bharta Vaidehi. O Vaidehi, O Sita, but your husband is a giver of immeasurable joy. What? Mother and father can't give you immeasurable joy, but only husband can? What do you mean by that? So here's where we use what we call uha poha vichakshana, where we try to see what the Shastras are saying, how it makes sense, not how it doesn't make sense. Otherwise, why will we study Ramayan? Right? We're studying it to see how it makes sense, not say, okay, this is not applicable, skip, this doesn't make sense, skip. We're studying it to see how it makes sense. Right? Uha poha vichakshana. What does a wife get from her husband? From a material, physical point of view, she gets all his wealth, she gets his name, and she gets children. Isn't it? Those are some things physically a wife will get from husband. Beyond what is physical or material, did you know that a wife gets half of her husband's punya karma? She keeps all of her punya karma. Whatever punya karma she's done, 100% is hers. Plus 50% of her husband's come to her. He loses 50 and she gets it. Right? Then, not only that, her papa karma. Half of her papa karma goes to her husband. He keeps 100% of his papa karma and he takes 50% of hers. Okay? Now, this is Shastra Pramana. There's no way to measure. So I can't tell you this is proof for anything. Shastra is saying, right? Then she gets the most immeasurable joy from the point of view of the fact that the husband has the capacity to give a wife moksha, if she has the attitude that Anasuyaji is going to describe. Now, who says women are always losers? You tell me, anyone who hears this math, they will want to be a husband or a wife? 50% of his punya, and you minus 50% of your papa. That's a good deal. Right? So this is some of the ways to think about how to make sense of that kind of statement. Now she says, Adhamaso nari jo sevanatehi. That woman is really low, really mean, of a low category, who doesn't serve or treat with respect such a husband who has the capacity to give you immeasurable joy. The husband who has the potential to give infinite happiness. Now she tells a principle. Dhiraju dharma mitra arunari. Apadakala parikhiyahi jari. Fortitude, dhiraj, means patience, fortitude, like that. Dharma, a friend and a woman, or specifically here a wife. These four are tested in difficult times. Means in adversity is when their true test is given. Like our dhiraj, our fortitude, the ability to hold on to our goal. That is tested only when the difficult time comes, isn't it? It is easy to say, I am not going to eat junk food until the junk food comes. So it is easy to say, I am going to wake up every day and do japa until that blanket feels really nice in the morning. So in the face of difficulties is when our true fortitude is tested. Same with dharma, means our integrity, our character, our righteousness, that is tested in adversity. If something is convenient, we're very happy to speak the truth. But as soon as it becomes a little inconvenient, then we start to consider, or if we have lots to gain, like someone tells you, if you tell a white lie and nobody is going to get hurt, nothing major is going to happen to anyone, just one little white lie, you can get $100,000. Will you tell that white lie? Now your mind will start making calculations. You may have said before, I don't lie, but now $100,000? They're like, okay, $500,000. All of a sudden your math for telling the truth is out of the window, isn't it? We see it in our lives that dharma is tested in the face of adversity. The third one is a friend. Friends, true friendship is tested in adversity. I remember when I must have been in like grade 1 or something. We did a skit as part of every class had to do a skit. And the skit that we did, it was so impressionable. I still remember this person has only one friend, and then suddenly she wins a lottery and she gets lots of money. And now everybody becomes her friend and she gives her money to all of them. And then when all her money is gone, only that true friend remains who didn't get any of her money. Right? True friendship is tested in adversity, in difficult times. And finally, Nari, specifically here, a wife, means her loyalty, her truthfulness, her chastity is tested in difficult times. When everything is good, when life is picture perfect, then all is good. But if your husband gets some kind of sickness and life changes, that is when the true test comes. That is what this sentence is trying to say. Now see, she says, Vriddha roga basa jada dhanahina. She lists the types of different husbands that could be there. Whether your husband is old, he's become old and wrinkled. Whether he's roga basa, if he's sick, he's become sick for any reason. If he's jada, dull-witted or lazy or unintelligent even, then he's dhanahina. He has no wealth. He's poor. If he's andha, he's blind. Or badhira, deaf. If he's krodhi, he gets angry very easily. Or he's atidina, he's helpless, like good for nothing. Aise hu pati kara kiye apamana. Even if you insult such a husband who is any of these above qualities. Nari pava jamapura dukha nana. That woman, that wife, goes to Yamapur and gets countless sorrows. She goes to Yamapur, she goes to hell and gets countless sorrows. Right? Now, how to understand this? See, men will have their own dharma to follow. You let husbands follow the dharma they have to. We're talking about Nari dharma here, right? This is easily understandable. Well, a little more easily understandable when you call in the law of karma. That everything is coming to me because of my own doing. I cannot blame my husband for the fact that in my life I have someone who is old or sick or dull-witted or lazy or insert whatever quality. In that time we have to say, Bhagavan, what are you trying to teach me with this? some greater principle we have to call on. Anasuyaji is saying because that is not an excuse to say that you're not going to give love, respect, care for that husband. Like that. Eka hi dharma, eka vrata nema, kaya bachana mana pati pada prem. Now she says this is the only one thing, one vow, one thing that a woman needs to do. That no matter the temperament of the husband, no matter his physical condition, you are devoted to his feet alone in thought, word, and deed. This is the dharma of a wife, to be devoted to the feet of her husband. What? You mean whatever my husband does, it is okay? I have to tolerate anything? Well, I mean, she's not talking about abusive situations or anything like that, right? But even if your husband is like a Rakshasa, say, to other people, Mandodari and Tara were married to Rakshasas, right? And they are two of the 5 women to be remembered every morning. They were so great in spite of being married to Rakshasas, right? So, Anasuyaji is saying, you accept your husband in all his shades of personality, with all of his weakness, and have devotion for him. Devotion means love and respect. No one wants to be loved but not respected. I love you, but I don't respect you. No one wants that also, right? So both are what are called. Now, what the world teaches us is definitely not this. Correct or wrong? The world teaches us this? The wife's only dharma is to be devoted to the feet of her husband. You will never hear that in anywhere in the world again, right? But where has the world's offering led us? If you look, it has led to broken homes, weaker family structures, no time for kids, right? And the effect of all of that is degradation of society. Means if the worldly option that is presented for the duty of a wife is not cutting it, means it's not leading to infinite joy, and it's not even able to sustain a healthy society, then for a moment the mind can put aside the conviction that the modern way is the best way and just consider that there's some wisdom to be had from what Anasuyaji is telling. Just for a moment, consider. Right? Now you consider this. If you take a stone from your garden or anywhere, and you consider that stone to be Lord Shiva, and you take it to your mandir, and you have love for that stone, right? And you do namaskar to that stone. You put your ego aside, and you do pranams. And you consider it to be great. Oh, you are my everything, you are my support. You do seva. You decorate it, you clean it, you put chandan. You do tyaga also. You sacrifice things so that you have time to do puja and offer food and all of that. Will you get a result from that? From offering your love, devotion, sacrifice, seva to a stone? Yes or no? Well, the whole bhakti marga is based on that principle, isn't it? Of course you'll get. That is upasana, where on a stone we superimpose the Lord. We see the Lord in that stone. Right? Now, if a result can come from seeing the Lord in a stone, what if you do that with a person? Like Guru. You give Guru unconditional love, unconditional respect, namaskara without ego. You consider him to be so great. You consider him to be the center of your life, right? You clean his kutiya, you're ready to do seva, you cook for him. Result will come or not? Of course, result will come. Now it is difficult, but just imagine, right? What if someone saw, instead of their husband, they saw God in that husband, and everything that they did for God in the husband. They give love, respect, no ego, means they don't want any recognition. They're ready to do any kind of sacrifice. Will a result not come from God? How will a result not come? That's the actual question. How will a result not come? Right? And this is not in contradiction with anything Vedanta is saying, because Brahman is all pervasive. This is not a wrong thing to say your husband is God also. Right? So the sadhana being given here is to see God in that husband. But my husband is so terrible. I cannot see God in him. He's like a Rakshasa. That, Bhagavan, he can't be worse than Ravana. Okay, I mean, Ravana's the standard here. So he can't be worse than Ravana. And at that point, Bhagavan himself will come and deal with him. You don't worry. He will come and save you at that point. So you do your part and you try to follow this thing, is what is being said by Anasuyaji. Okay, now she gives 4 types of Pativrata Nadis, 4 types of faithful women. We'll hear like 4 types of disciples. That first type of disciple, the guru doesn't even say anything. And the Shishya knows what is in his mind and he does before Guru can even ask. Right? Then the last one, even when he asks, he has to ask again and again, then only Shishya would. Okay? We have gradations in Shishya. And we all think, okay, well, I am not the best one, but I want to be the best one. We have that in our mind, right? I'm not the best one, but we don't say it is impossible for someone to know what the Guru is thinking before he thinks it. We don't say that. We say, well, that is the ideal and I'm not there and I want to get there. Some sentiment like that. So now what are these 4 types of Pativrata Nari? Jaga Pativrata Chari Bidhi Ahangi. There are 4 types of Pativrata women in this world. Veda Purana Santa Sava Kahi. This is told in Vedas and Puranas, and all saints also tell this. Who are they? 1. Uttamake asa basa manamahi sapanehu ana purusha jaganahi. Uttama, the best one. She is convinced in her mind that there is no other man in this world. Means she doesn't think of any other man in this world, not even in dream. Her mind doesn't go to anyone else, even in dream. Means at the subconscious level also, there's no thought of anyone else. Okay? Or she literally doesn't think that there is any other man in this world. That is Uttama, best. Number 2, Madhyama. Madhyama Parapati De Kahi Kaise. The other one, the second one, how does she look at someone else's husband? She sees someone else's husband. She sees she sees these other people, right? Mind will go there. But how does she see them? Bhrata Pita Putra Nija Jaise. She sees them like, depending on their age, as brother, father, or son. Her father, her brother, or her son. That is how she sees it. Okay? So the mind will go, but no other thoughts will come to the mind in any other way. Number 3, Dharma Bichari Samuji Kala Rahahi So Nikrishta Triya Shruti Asakahahi. So now the third one is described. She's called Nikrishta. What about her? What does she do? Well, in her mind, sometimes wrong thoughts come when she sees someone else. But she is wise enough to think about or know what Dharma says and think about her family values, her family name, like that. So she doesn't do anything about it. Thoughts may arise, but she doesn't act on it. Right? So at the physical level, her purity remains. But at the mental level, her purity is different than the first 2. Then the 4th one, finally, Binu Avasara Bhayate Raha Joi Janehu Adhama Nari Jaga Soi. The 4th one remains pure only because of fear or because she got no opportunity to do otherwise. Means if opportunity came, she would have taken it. You heard about that man who said, I have never taken a bribe in my life. Really? Never? He said, no, nobody ever offered one. That doesn't say anything, right? So like that because of some fear or because of lack of opportunity, she remains pure. So all 4 are physically still have fidelity, but they have different mental attitudes. Now see the one who doesn't have fidelity. Pati banchaka parapati rati karai that one who deceives or cheats on her husband and goes and uh, loves someone else's husband, some other man, right? What happens to her? Raurava Naraka Kalapasata Parai. She goes to Raurava Naraka for like 100 kalpas. Raurava Kalpa is a kind of narak where there's some kind of insects and they go on stinging you. That's what it's described as. You know, when you hear the descriptions of these narakas, you're like, I wish I didn't know. But it's the naraka that we go to if we are untruthful. When someone is untruthful, they go to this Raurava Narak. Our Vishnu Purana lists all kinds of narak apparently, and where you go for what papa. I have not read it. I don't intend to read it, but if it is your interest, you are free to go and research it. Rao, what is it? Rao Rava, not Rao Rava, Rao Rava Naraka. 100 kalpas she goes there for. Chhana sukha lagi janma satta koti dukhana samuja tehi samana sama ko khoti. She says, for momentary joy, someone who does not think of the sorrow, who doesn't understand the sorrow that she's going to get for 100 million janmas, who is so foolish as her? This is Anasuyaji asking. Not just a wife, anyone who trades a moment of joy for lifetimes of sorrow. They haven't really thought about the joy that they're going to be getting, whether it's really worth it. You know, we do that with simple things also. We like decide to, food is the easiest one. So we keep going back to food examples, but you eat something, you enjoy it for 2 minutes or 30 seconds, and 5 minutes later you regret for the rest of the day. Okay? Momentary joy leads to so much sorrow. Anyone who has not thought properly about that, 100 million births of sorrow for one moment of joy, that person, no one is as foolish as her. Now, you don't need to believe in Raurava Naraka, where some insect that you don't know comes, Ruru insect, I think it's called, he comes and stings you and all, right? But even in the general world, if you see someone who engages in that type of thing, can they live peacefully and happily? Fear and problems are bound to come, right? Anyone who breaks trust or commitment in any field, in any relationship, that is bad. Actually, no one is opposed to these ideas. These are part of our society also. Everyone says this is not right, right? So this is not so hard to digest. It's understandable. Correct. What you're saying, Anasuyaji? Okay, I don't have a problem with this one, right? Now see, very famous line comes. Binu Shrama, Nari Paramagati Lahahi, Pativrata Dharma, Chari Chala Gahahi, right? She says, a woman, a wife, can attain the greatest goal, i.e., moksha, without effort, binushrama. With no effort, a great wife will get the supreme goal. Means just by being a faithful wife, just by being a pativrata nari, giving up all deceitful living, she will attain the supreme goal. That means no other japa, tapa, sadhana, study, meditation, contemplation, not trying to sit and trying to understand what is soham, not feeling divided and torn and trying to put effort in any other kind of karma. This itself is enough to give you the requisite purity of mind for moksha. Right? Because if you see your husband as God and you are devoted to him, you will get purity of mind. You will get devotion for God. And when you get devotion for God, Bhagavan says, Tadami buddhi yogam tam. I give that person buddhi yoga. Right? I give them that knowledge, the knowledge. So this is how to understand. Now, the next line is not so easy to digest. She says, Pati pratikula janmi jaha jai, vidhava hoi, Pai Tarunai, the one who is hostile to, averse to her husband. Right? Wherever she is born, she will become a widow in her youth. Means in a young age, she will become a widow. Right? One who is hostile or averse to her husband. Not that anybody who becomes a widow early on did something like this. That you can't infer like that. But if you do this, then you will get that result. It's one of the reasons, not the only reason. And our Shastras are so wonderful. They keep reminding us that every karma has a result. Every karma has a result. So if you do certain karmas, you're going to get certain results, right? This is the result that that kind of person gets. Now, sahaja, oh, this line. Sahaja apavani nari. A woman is naturally impure by birth. Ahalyaji is saying this. Right? You know, when you hear this from like the mouth of someone else, you're like, you know, they don't know what they're saying, it's out of context, so many things. But here a woman is telling another woman. So we have to put our mind, first of all, we have to remove the how dare they say this from our mind and just think about it for a moment. You know, what kind of thing could be there for us to understand from this kind of statement? One is, see, if Anasuyaji is saying, she's not saying it with some agenda. She's saying it for our benefit. Okay? Think, what does impurity look like? Impurity is not just physical impurity. Impurity is not just kama, krodha also. It's not just desire, anger and all. Impurity is also attachment. That is one version of impurity. Is it not true that majority of women have stronger attachments to spouse and children than their male counterparts? Majority, not all. True or false? Women have stronger attachment. Attachment is an impurity. So if they have stronger attachment, is it wrong to say that by birth they are naturally impure? It means they naturally have more attachment. That would be another way to look at that. Is it a wrong statement when you look at it like that? No, it is true that women have more attachment in general. Okay? Now, that attachment is an impurity. Impurity is causes agitation in the mind. Or another definition of impurity is that which brings sorrow. Now, more impurity means more sorrow and more necessity to go through tapas. Our Shastras are extremely real, right? They see that there is a difference between a man and a woman. And they state things as they are, right? At the highest level, Shastra will say there's no difference even between Jiva and Ishvara, let alone man and woman. Jiva and Ishvara also, you are God. You have to come to understand that, right? At the highest level. But at the transactional level, we cannot deny that there are differences. Can a man give birth to a baby? No, there are differences between the two, right? Now, is it not true that women are treated differently in society? In the workplace, are they treated differently? You know, studies are done, so many studies are done about how women work more, earn less for the same work that a man does. I'm just telling statistics that are there, right? Then they pay more for the pink version of the same good. Means the woman version of the same good costs more than the regular version. Right? So they're earning less and they're paying more. Okay, then that's not sorrow. That's not suffering. Impurity doesn't mean the woman cannot be touched, cannot pray to God. None of that. It means you find yourself with more sorrow. You find yourself having to go through more tapas. You find yourself being more sensitive. You feel sad more easily. Women go through sorrow every month. Then they go through sorrow for 9 months. Then their life is never the same, right? They go through more sorrow than men in life or not, in general. Women go through more sorrow, right? Now, men and women are different, you know? Women go through so much more suffering generally, but they complain so much less than men. If a man generally, I have to keep saying generally, right? If a man had to do as much as a woman, a normal, generalized, you think about how much they would complain. I'm seeing some people being like, you just think about what that would look like. I'm not saying everybody, I'm making a very generalized comment here, right? So already women have to go through more pain, more suffering than men. Now you see, in our current society, women are trying to be equal to men. Correct? We're trying to get equality. How? Giving up Nari Dharma and trying to get equality. But they're not seeing the pain and trouble that they are causing themselves. You go to work, you work hard, you bring in half the income, if not more than half. You're working just as hard at work. But when you come home, you still have to do all the housework, or at least majority of it. Okay? Then bringing up children and imparting values and soft skills is something, actually, the imparting of soft skills is something that only a mother can do. Value imparting to children is not something that can be shared. It's just one of the ways that the world is designed. Right? So now, see the consequence. By trying to strive for equality, women are bringing more suffering on themselves. Then children are not being brought up with the soft skills of life because mom is too busy, and then the whole society is facing the repercussions. Children today are happier or more depressed. Children today are more able or less able to handle life circumstances. Society has become better or worse as a result of the changes that we've made. Worth thinking about. Now, it is not an easy thing to change our perspective on today when the social perspective of these things has become so ingrained in us. But there's something to be said about considering the value that is there in this. If you don't follow it, at least understanding that there is value in it is the first step. Right? Okay. Now she continues. Jasu gavata shruti chari ajahu tulasika harihi priya. She said, by being totally, oh, wait, I didn't finish the previous sentence. Sahaja apavana nari. She tells a statement by a woman is naturally more impure. I mean, she naturally goes through so much more suffering and has more attachment and all of that. Pati sevata subha gati lahahi. But by serving her husband, she can get the greatest goal. She can get that infinite happiness. Then she the even all the four Vedas sing the glory of such women. And he gives the example, she gives the example, Ajahu Tulasika Harihi Priya. Even today, the Tulsi plant is so dear to Bhagavan. Right? There's a story in Balakand, actually, we saw this story. Tulsi was Vrinda in a previous life. She was wife of Jalandhar, like a terrible Rakshasa. And she was so devoted to him that he had become invincible and nobody could kill him. So Bhagavan had to like play a trick and then only he was killed. So she got angry with him and she cursed him. But he was so happy with her tapas, she became Tulsi and she got Bhagavan himself. Right? So there's so many examples in Shastra of the glory of women who have lived up to this kind of pativrata dharma. Now she says, Sunu Sita, listen Sita, tava nama sumiri, just remembering your name, Nari pativrata karahi. Just remembering your name, women will be able to follow this pativrata dharma. They will be able to maintain their fidelity. They will be able to have this bhava towards their husband. Means inspired by you, all other women will be able to follow this dharma. And if you have studied Ramayan or you've been studying in this class, if you can remember from the moment Sitaji sees Sri Rama for the first time, you go back and you see that section in the garden, right? All the way till even when she convinced him to bring her to the forest. You know, it was not an easy battle to win. A princess who has never walked on the ground, who gets scared of a picture of a monkey, to bring her to the forest? She had to convince Lord Rama to bring her to the forest? But she was so clear about her Dharma that even Lord Rama couldn't say anything in the face of all that. Right? So you see her her vrata and her dedication to Lord Rama from the moment she first sees him. And she asks Parvati Ma, I want to marry him. You please make that bowl light. You please do something. I want to marry him. Like that, right? Okay. Now, Tohi Pranapriya Rama. For you, Rama is Pranapriya. He is dear to you as your own life. Kahi katha samsara hita. I have only told this katha, this Nari Dharma, for the benefit of samsara, for the benefit of the world. People who are suffering in this world, for them I have told it. If you think you're in samsara and you're going through the sorrow of change and all of that, then this is for you. If not, then this is not for you. Right? But she tells this for samsara, for samsaris who are going through the world of change and sorrow. Right? Now, if, like I said, if you don't think that the world you're living in feels like samsara, means it's not unpleasant, there's nothing to come out of, then you don't need to follow this. Right? But remember, what is your goal? If your goal is moksha, then following this dharma with no effort, you will get that goal. Binushrama, without any kind of exertion, just having this bhava brings that goal. And if the goal is moksha, no amount of effort is actually too big. Right? It's easy for the goal that is to be gotten, right? If the goal is just enjoyment here, happy with 50-50, then live as you're living. No one is forcing you, right? If your goal is equality, again, this is not for you, right? The other thing, nobody is saying that this is the only sadhana. Like if you are married and you are a wife, this is the only way for you to moksha, right? If this doesn't jive with you, then see Bhagavan as Bhagavan, right? But you have to have some altar of worship, right? If the husband is the altar of worship, Anasuyaji is saying moksha is attained very easily, right? If now, if you are the kind of wife who has this bhava, who has the capacity to develop this bhava, then this is all you need, this upasana, right? But we have a responsibility to find out our dharma and to follow our dharma. So here she presents Nari Dharma. What is Nari Dharma in short? See your husband as God and get moksha. And if seeing a stone as God can give you results, why can't this? Right? If you can't do this, okay. But if you want to try, now, okay, fine, I've lived my life in one way, but I think what Anasuyaji is saying, I have Shraddha, I believe her. Now, how do I start? Where do I start? Some things to consider. One, touch his feet every day. It will change your heart and it will change his heart too. And you might find it weird in the beginning, but there are people in today's generation who still do this. Okay? Then, number two, when he gets moody or angry, and he will, I mean, everyone does, right? You have to find a way for your mind to not to not leave the effort of trying to remember that I'm trying to see Bhagavan in my husband, right? So, for example, there are there are countless forms of the Lord. So you just keep shifting your mind to which different form of the Lord he is at a different time. See, if he is showering too long, then he is Matsya Avatar at that time. He's in the water. When he doesn't feel like talking to you and he wants to sit quietly and withdraw himself, then he's which avatar? Kurma avatar, the turtle. Right? If he is smelly and sweaty and he's just come from somewhere and he's not gone to shower, Varaha avatar. Right? You can keep going like that. If he is angry or scary, then that one is easy. Parshurama or Narasimha Bhagavan, right? When he's disciplined and serious, that's like Rama avatar. When he is playful and loving, that's Krishna avatar. And when he is unpredictable and you don't know yet what is going to come, then you say, okay, Kalki, I don't know what's coming. So you find a way for your mind to stay on that thought in a fun way also, right? But you really try to dedicate your love to him. What does dedicating our love look like? It means I want to give them joy, whether they will give me joy back or not. Whether I will get something back or not, from my side, I will give joy, right? It is actually a really powerful sadhana with really powerful results for anybody, right? See this. How many thoughts do we have in a day? Countless thoughts, literally countless thoughts. Right now, our thoughts are going in all different directions, seeking love from all different things in the world, correct? Giving love also and our time and attention to all different things. Now there's a principle. Anything which is composed of many parts, if it is divided, it has no power. Like a single, thread, like the regular sewing thread, a single thread, when you're trying to wrap it, you can break it easily, isn't it? You pull and it breaks. When you take multiple layers of that same thread and they come together, that thing becomes unbreakable. A person can cut their finger trying to break it at that time, isn't it? Or the rays of the sun. What can a single ray of sun do? Nothing. But when you collect so many rays of the sun put together, it can make electricity that's enough to power the whole world, isn't it? Anything that is disintegrated or scattered does not have power. When our thoughts are going in all directions, we are powerless. If we develop the capacity to collect our thoughts, our vrittis, and bring them to one place and invest our love in one thing, then whatever that thing is, it is said we get immense power. People get the power to make Brahmandas with this kind of power. That is why sadhus' minds are so powerful, because their vrittis are not scattered like us. So for a wife who has taken up this sadhana to invest that love in her husband, all my love is in one direction, not for an ordinary mortal person, but seeing him as God, she becomes so powerful. There are countless stories about that, right? So these are some things to do. Then to think about him before ourselves without ego. Without ego is the hard part, because we all have the desire to be someone, to be unique, to find recognition and all of that. But removal of ego in any sadhana is a prerequisite to getting moksha. Okay? So be ready to serve and sacrifice without ego. Now, look, everybody will not be of the same disposition, right? Mirabai left her mortal husband. She didn't need to see Bhagavan in her husband. She had a direct relationship with the Lord, right? That predated him. But we must have an altar. That is the main thing. We must have an altar. If your husband is not your altar, you find another altar, but you have to have an altar. She is saying, Anasuyaji is saying, if you see God in your husband, it's a very easy way to get mukti. When children dress up as Devi Ma during Navratri or as Rama Sita for some kind of Ram Navami play and all of that, people come, and have you seen people actually go and they touch their feet? Will they get the result of touching the feet of the children, or will they get the result of touching the feet of Devi Ma and Sri Rama? Where is the power? It's in the power of our vision. Nothing to do with that could be the most spoiled brat child who is sitting there for 5 minutes. If you touch their feet with the right bhava, you get the result of touching the Lord's feet, right? The power is in our vision. Anyways, like this, Anasuyaji told Nari Dharma to our Sitaji. And Sitaji heard this, and she got great joy because she wasn't a modern woman of today. who said, "This sounds ridiculous, you know?" She didn't have an Instagram feed that was telling her contrary things. And with great respect, she bowed her head. So she already knew. She already knew this. She was living it. But Anasuyaji took the opportunity. Actually, it is a glorification of Sitaji, isn't it? Like the same thing that Lord Rama is going to do with Shabari when he meets her. These are the 9 forms of devotion. Anyone who has one, I love them. You have all 9. That glorification only, isn't it? So by saying, Sita, this is Nari Dharma, but guess what? I don't need to tell you this. Remembering you people will follow this Dharma. That is glorification of our Sitaji, right? So we invoke Mother Sita as we try to understand this Nari Dharma more and more, and we try to carry the sentiment into our life if that is the kind of disposition that we have. Okay. Now what happens after this is our Lord Rama asks Atri Rishi for permission to leave Chitrakoot and go to another forest. He's now getting ready to move to Dandakaranya, to Panchavati. So we will see how he asks for permission in our class next week. Those who have joined today, this class that we have, this Ramayan class, actually started like 6 years ago, and there's no schedule. We don't plan what prasanga finishes when, how long, nothing. We just have class and we study, and where we stop, we start, and stop, and where we start, we start. Like that, we've been studying whole Ramayan, and we had the wonderful opportunity, the blessed opportunity to study it together like this week. So, like I said, I didn't, these are not my thoughts. I am not telling what Nari Dharma is. I am just sharing what our Anasuyaji is saying. So, however it can benefit and bless you in your life, you hold on to that. Okay. We'll do one Om, and then if anyone has any questions, I started to see questions. I'm scared. Hard questions are going to come, and I don't have answers to hard questions. So let us see what happens. We'll do one Om, and then we'll see. Om. What happens to Nadi Dharma if her husband dies or abandons her? No, then you have the Lord. No? Then you look to the Lord as a direct relationship with the Lord you built. I think. I hope that everyone enjoyed this prasanga. I enjoyed reflecting on it. And even if you are not a wife, there's so much to be learned from it. So we will do closing prayer now. And then we will actually, what we'll do is we'll open up the mic. Anyone who would like to share any thoughts or reflections from today, briefly, you can do so. We'll also stop the recording after closing prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Siyavar Ramachandra ki Jai. Shri Sadgurunath Maharaj ki Jai. Hari.